Hello everyone. I am homesick, but I don't want you to miss too much school. We're going to have a lighter day because I wasn't really prepared to be sick. So I just want to go over a couple quick lecture. This is what it would be like if we were online. So it'll give you a chance to experience that. All right. This everyone should know. Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. All living things are made up of matter. Okay, so if it's living, it's going to be made up of matter. And this should all be review. And mass is the quantity of matter an object has. Okay, none of this are you going to be, None of this are you going to be tested on. But it's good for you. It's good for you to be aware and just kind of remember it. An atom, if you notice, is the smallest divisible unit of an element, and for it to still retain its qualities. It would be as if you were to cut a piece of cake, right? And you always want to get the icing and the filling in the middle. And sometimes you can cut a piece of cake that's so small that you don't get the icing and the filling in the middle. So the atom is when you get the entire piece of the cake, but it's the smallest you could whittle it down to. So here's our definition of an atom. And this you need to know for your test. An atom is the smallest particle of an element that retains all the chemical properties of the element. Again, it is like cutting that piece of cake. I really like cake, if you haven't noticed. And you cut it to the point that you still have the icing on the top, the filling in the middle, so you still get the essence of the cake. But if you were to cut it any smaller, maybe you'd only get icing, or maybe you'd only get the cake part, okay? So an atom is the smallest divisible unit that we can cut an element into, and it still remain true to the qualities of that element, okay? So the smallest particle of a carbon that can retain the chemical properties of a carbon is a carbon atom. Now this little drawing should look familiar. This is where you have your protons, your neutrons, your electrons, and your nucleus. All right, for some reason, I just put this a lot. I keep reminding you, so you know this is going to be on your test, that an atom, again, is the smallest particle of matter with all the same properties, okay? And an element is the simplest form of matter made only of one kind of atom. So if we say carbon is an element, sorry, my dogs are having a little bit of fun. If carbon, we say it's a carbon is an element, all carbon elements are made up of the same kind of atom. A hydrogen element, all hydrogen elements are made up of all the same kind of atoms. Okay, all right. My computer seems to have frozen. Oh, there we go. All right, so what are the three major parts of an atom? The three major parts of an atom, and this again should be review, is you have a proton, a neutron, and an electron. The protons and the neutrons are these guys in the middle, right? And the electrons are on the outside. If you get a chance, I really recommend watching this video. This link is right here, and I'm going to put the link in your Google Classroom. It talks about how small an atom is, and it's kind of a little bit mind-blowing. Like when I listen to it, I'm like, oh my Lord, what are they talking about? But it really puts perspective into how tiny these things are. All right, so you have the nucleus where the protons and the neutrons are located. And remember, protons and neutrons, proton is positive, neutron is neutral. So try to marry those words so that you can remember it. It's always easier if you can put two words together to try to remember something. So a neutron is neutral and a proton is positive. And then the electrons that are located on the outsides are negative. All right, so this is that summary. Protons are positive. Neutrons are uncharged, or I like to think neutral because it starts with N. And electrons are negatively. Electrons determine the properties of an atom. So the things on the outside determine the properties of an atom. And this is where we have chemical reactions, when they swap electrons to get their gorgeous octet, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Now, the nucleus is the central part of an atom, and it has protons and neutrons in it. And the nucleus has most of the atom's mass. Electrons are really, really tiny. So they are actually, when you look at the weight of an atom, they make up a very small amount. All right, I'm going to pause it because we're going to divide this video into 2 parts so it's easier for me to download it. But we're going to talk when I come back about atomic number and atomic mass.